Outstanding. Let me say, United Nations, welcome to the call, Rise and Shine. Yes, we are family with you. We will always remain family with you. Right now, this whole entire universe is under a global would-be reconstruction. And because of that, we are known as the World Global Reset Restoration Network family. This family consists of 198 sovereign nations. These sovereign nations have come to an agreement. That is a contract between all 198 nations. And believe it or not, I'm not afraid to say this in this introduction, that the United States is not one of those nations under this contract or an agreement. Simple as that. Now, I realized just a few minutes ago the United Nations, and they do start texting and hitting me up, and that comes from the UK, it starts coming from Germany, it starts even coming from Canada, it comes from France, and all of them are just like me. They want to know right now, why are we steadily reversing ourselves back to something as if though we're trying to explain it to a few would-be Americans. And I do believe that if we're trying to explain anything to any of the would-be Americans, I want us to understand that the Caucasian Caucasian Americans are not Americans. They made up that name, and that would be okay. They can have that name. It's a patent name. We agree what patents are. If they want that patent name, they can take it. They can stand in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, and they can use that name. But that name is not going to be part of the land in which we're now under reconstruction that was given the name the United States of America, because it does not exist. Simple as that. And we don't have to explain ourselves to any would-be group of Caucasians or foreign would-be so-called agents or any other thing of that nature. We don't have to explain to anybody that. We're not going to. We're not going to apologize for erasing them or deleting them off the planet. That's not going to happen. And we don't have to explain ourselves every time we come on a call of how everything transpired or where it came from or how it was constructed. We don't have to do that because it's inevitable. It's already done happen. We're beyond that. Indexing is a requirement for everyone to identify themselves, and I want to use this word so everyone will know that just because I am known as the Son of Man, I am also one of those humans on the planet that has been violated. And we don't have to in the hell tell anyone or explain to anyone where we came from. We've already identified ourselves. There are 198 nations. The United States of America is not one of those nations. We understand that over a course of period of years now, ranging from the year of 2000 all the way to 2025, there have been various people that have been misrepresented, or they just been flat out unrepresented. Okay? And that's based upon classifying some so-called would-be 216 nations. We can read everything the way it started out and the way it is today. America has somehow tricked the whole world into even believing that there are some 216 nations or 212 nations. They are trying their best to add nations as we speak so they can somehow find some number that they can build themselves what will be known as a clientele, along with classifying them as some would-be so-called alliance. There's no alliance. None. America don't have any allies. They don't have any alliances that's going to join them, and no kind of would-be confrontation whereby to put them in leadership where they will be able to rule the world. Now, so I do add this in this would-be, if you might call it that. This is an introduction the way I see it. I'm giving you an introduction right now. This is not even a conversation. We're not about to let the United States of America take control of no world, no nation, no planet, no people. They have done enough violating of the people. That has been proven by every nation on this planet. Every nation on this planet now has a lawsuit in on the United States of America at the Universal World Court. Not just at the international court, but it has it at the Universal World Court. And all of those men and women that once upon a time was taking your lawsuits to what is known as some so-called would-be New York City. New York does not run any United Nations or any nations that are united business. They don't. They don't run anything. It just so happens that so far everyone has begun to recognize that, except the United States of America, if it might be given a name, based upon the fact it wants to be in charge of something, so it will be able to exclude people as it so feels. But it doesn't have no judiciary powers, nowhere, no place, no how. Now, I know everybody's gotten away from where we're at and how we got to where we're at right now. And just recently, I sat down with my host, and I showed her a would-be method of paying attention to what is going on the universal world right now and on the level whereby we're at right now. Even I had to bring her attention to that. What we're going through now is not about one lawsuit. And it's definitely not about no lawsuit that happened with Mr. Keenan and some so-called would-be New York City, because he didn't have any power to bring any lawsuit to New York City in reference to what was known as the Japanese family or the Chinese family. He had no powers. All of that was brought to what was known then as the International Court. At the time, we were taking it over, and I don't care what the international judges are talking about right now. They have no jurisdiction over nothing either, and that's why they drag their feet. That's why they keep coming up with this so-called high, would-be so-called representation of their own opinion. Nobody cares anything about any opinions on this planet. None. Everyone has an opinion. Opinions are like blood holes, and everyone on the planet got one, except for those that were born without it based upon the fact of what would be classified. And that classification would be they would be handicapped. But other than that, no one is trying to hear any of that. It's our deal right now that everyone has truly, since the year of 2000, lost the reason why we're in the conditions that we're under right now. Let me help you out. I'm going to make a statement, and I know those men and those women that are still out there listening to this understand that. The lawsuit that has brought us to this point for the United World at large was a lawsuit that was classified. It was given the title, the World Global Settlement Fund, and where the trillions went. That was what got us here now. The World Global Settlement Fund reference on all of the pages in which we sent out should not even be confused with the World Global Settlement Funds based upon what was classified as the World Trust, the SG Trust. The SG World Trust was only part of another trust based upon the World Global Settlement Fund. And the SG World Trust Fund was also another would-be lawsuit. The funds that's based upon the World Global Settlement Fund, it had an excess at that time of money that was need to be given back to the people was $47 trillion to reimburse, and they were going to disperse this to 140 nations across the globe. If that 140 nations I stepped in to recognize that there were 193 nations at that time that was represented. And those 193 nations at that time were to receive back their trillions which had been taken from them by what was classified as the New World Order, which was under the command and control of the United States of America. After realizing there were 5 other nations that America was just in the same type of debt and a larger debt to them, that those 5 nations was added to those 193 nations, which brought us to 198 nations for those of you that understand simple arithmetic. This due and the lawful disbursement has been blocked by what was known then as the United States and Washington, D.C. On the evening of Thursday, 28 July 2011, Barack Obama, the President of the United States, informed the World Court at The Hague that as long as he was president, he would not sign off on the World Global Settlement Fund. Knowing that he had borrowed $900 billion, which he got $875 billion out of a trust fund of SG World Trust for all of the people on the planet. He borrowed that, and that money belonged to Dr. HENDO I.L. Henderson. This is how we got here to where we're at right now. Obama's refusal to lawfully execute his responsibility in this specific followed upon the wide circulation of a letter dated 7 July 2011. It came from a man by the name of Lyndale Barney, and it went to one known as Dana Wilcox. Full text, you can read it. The financial data set out in this letter has shown that the U.S. income tax expected to pay to the U.S. Treasury from just 4 of the World Global Settlement Fund related recipients, past paymasters, would amount to a sum of excess of about $11 trillion. This would be significant and a sufficient payment to pay off most of what was known then as the U.S. national deficit, and would pump prime, which was prime nothing more than a U.S. dollar refunding program. That meant they were going to refund everybody back for this would-be so-called U.S. dollar program that was not worth anything. We can go on and on and on. It was also linked to a letter that was dated 17 June 2017 from a Pasadena attorney, Al Clifton Hodges. And it was based upon the fact that he was talking to the Chinese government through the Chinese ambassador to the United States. And I had already spoken, Dr. HENDO I.L. Henderson, to, at the time, the Chinese ambassador. And my host, Ms. Bolden, was there as I spoke to that would-be Chinese ambassador, Mackay. She was also in the present as I spoke with the Red Dragon. The direct Chinese involvement in the internal finance of the United States dates all the way back from 2009, when it was $47 trillion, against the U.S. Treasury and against the U.S. Federal Reserve Board was taken out by an elite monetary interest in the UK and in China. Again, it was dated and completely signed 17th June 2011. Al Clifton Hodges' letter of 17 June 2011 was copied to Michael Cotel. Basil list payment for U.S. dollars refunding project. And Mr. Barney at that time was in charge, which at that time, even he had said if his time would expire, where he would either expire or retire, it would then be transferred over to one known as Johnny Roller. This is what this is all about. It's about a lawsuit in which the United States of America owes the world. And all of those documents are still in place. Mr. Obama borrowed $875 billion of that $47 trillion, only to bail out what was known as the American corporations. And then he proceeded to bail out other corporations around the world in order to buy their allegiance or to buy their agreement, whereby knowing that at some point in time it was going to lead to a major would-be situation, and believing that he would have at least purchased security of being protected in order that the United States of America, if it be attacked by any of these nations, that the majority of the nations that they would have paid out or paid off or even gave them money for their corporations would fight on the side of the U.S. of A. And that's not going to happen. Not going to happen. In that letter, Mr. Hodges addressed the criminal fraud which he states is being perpetrated in connection with the anticipated payments of the World Global Settlement Fund in that excess of the $47 trillion, and it would be diverse. That would have been of 140 nations, knowing that there were nations that were growing. And those nations had added up to 198, where we're at now. Al Clifton reports to the GA that Michael Cotel, who is in charge of $10 trillion in U.S. dollar refund projects, has been advised that the WGS fund transferred to J.P. Morgan Chase by Citibank had been commander of personal gains. And believe it or not, my brother KG at that time was working with Citibank and J.P. Morgan because he is J.P. Morgan, by way of being his grandson. Me, I came in for the land. The land was mine based upon my great-great-grandfathers, who were the original of this whole entire land that they now classify as being the earth, by way of me proving it through my blood DNA, based upon some Jesus Christ blood, and which they had also, and all of the would-be Oriental empires, they had maintained it. The blood of the one that they say was crucified. And I proved beyond any reasonable doubt that either I was of the same blood or I was that same blood. Because it was 99.9%, and in other chests, 100%. Well, now this is where we're still at. On March 23rd, Flores fingerprinted on Libya about some bombing scheme. On March 24th, they were talking about the killing of Libyans. It became a moment whereby one known as Pat Buchanan was present. Pat Buchanan is no longer on the planet that I know of. All of these things are relevant already. March 23rd, 2011. I can tell you exactly when it was. All of these things that with which I speak on now in the United Nations, everyone has it. Everyone is already aware of it. No one can erase it. It don't have to be on the internet anymore. Anyone could have removed it. And they removed it by using AI, artificial intelligence. But what artificial intelligence forgot is that all of these things had already been done even before they created an AI. Even before they decided to take those would-be so-called websites like Google and scrub them for truth and put nothing more than a bunch of lies and would-be so-called things to keep people entertained. Yahoo was the same way. They were scrubbed for truth, and all of the truth was taken off. All the real documents was taken off. And Yahoo became nothing more than another one of those media places where everybody would go to meet each other and talk about nothing but personal things and sex. I'm not afraid to say those things. Along with Google, along with Yahoo, became even places like Skype and Zoom. All of them even began to be nothing more than a social media setup to take away the people's attention from the reality of truth of what was taking place, to eliminate the United States of America and the U.S. dollar, and which had been found to be nothing more than a system of fraud and money laundering and sex trafficking and human trafficking. It was all done during that time. And no one can change it now. No one. The letters was already signed. The final result was, based upon the World Settlement of May 12, 2011, it says, I have attempted to my utmost ability to take every possible step to ensure that the world global settlement payouts are completed at the earliest possible moment. As you know and have discussed in the past, the situation in Europe is now dire, etc. Denmark, that's an area of responsibility as well, has closed its border today, and Greece has now disapproved any responsibility for payment of its derivative obligation, payout of the world global settlement, and payment of the other debts, which have been acknowledged by the U.S. government, is the only reasonable remedy, lifesaver. To answer you, these and many other current ills of this financial community, please feel free to tribute. These corresponded to any party who may have an interest. Thank you for your assistance in helping to spread the word. Sincerely. Law sign, law firm, law associates, and all nations placed their name on agreement to this state and signed off. And believe it or not, this letter was CC'd to President Barack Obama and to Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II. The ambassador in China received it, signed off on it. The ambassador in Japan received it, signed off on it. And the presidents of all of the institutions received it and signed off on it. And right now, it seems that everyone has forgotten his or her place in what is being done. This is not about some white boy. It would be Smoketown, Kentucky, or Tennessee, or any other would-be place, deep south, or any other type of south in the United States of America having anything to do with it. They are being held accountable for trying to prevent these things from occurring. They were not placed on the list whereby they were given any opportunity of any type of power of agreement. They don't have to agree. They don't even have to really say that they even care about it. Just get out the way because you're not going to be able to stop it. And nobody is asking them for their acceptance or agreement. No one. On the morning of Tuesday night, August 2011, a swift SWIFT notice, transfer of world global settlement payout from Brussels to the U.S. was intentionally stopped by the Obama White House. And that's where we're at right now, because they didn't stop anything. And Mr. Obama better prepare himself, because he will be fully held accountable for the crimes that have been committed against all humankind. And I don't know who his advisors were. If he had used advisors, I would say to him now, that was the dumbest decision that he could have made, to use any of them as his advisors. Because they definitely did not advise him in the wisest manner known to humankind. And because of Mr. Obama's inexperience in the area at the time of being a politician, it's possibly the only way that we can look at him and say he was only doing it in ignorance, because he would not have been knowledgeable enough to understand how the real system works. And knowing that in 2011 would have been part of his first term in office. He went in 2008. 2011 would have been his first term in office. And we have to admit, many people who go into any type of would-be occupation with the less experience that Mr. Obama had at that time in any would-be politics would be the only thing that one may look at him and say, this is as much as a small moment to at least look at it in a manner whereby that he can look to himself to say that he could be asking for a little bit of leniency and what would take place in the overall would-be judgment. Other than that, Mr. Obama will be fully held accountable for the crimes against human rights and mankind's rights based upon getting in the way of what is known as the world global settlement payout to all the people on the planet and what would be known as the People's Trust and the World's Trust. This moment, I would take a small break.
Thank you, sir. Yes, family. Now, for those that may not have had a clear understanding, this has been brought out, put together for you. And when all 198 nations fully understand this. This is why we are moving forward quickly, family. We are indexing everyone on the planet. The whole point of the indexing is your restoration.
I need to interrupt one more time. Apologize for this interruption.
Go ahead.
M-O-P-P. I need you to do that, my host. M-O-P-P. It's MOP.
Yes, sir.
MOP. But I need you to understand again. You stop trying to explain to the people. This is not a people's problem. This is a universal world problem. This is a sovereign problem. This is a sovereignty problem. And I wouldn't give a dadgum how many people that's on this phone right now hang up and never call back again because they won't be able to change the thought what's going on. And I don't need their acceptance to what is going on. I need them to understand they better stand by and let what happens and stay out the way. That's what I'm saying to them. Everyone is listening to me on this phone, to include the FBI, the CIA, and the CCL. I'm calling everybody today. I'm talking to the SLC, the SCCL, the ones that are over there, security for Israel and all the other nations. I'm calling all their names right now. They need to understand, ain't nothing they can do to change this. They will eliminate themselves and terminate this whole entire planet. We're talking about a world war that's going on right now that will turn into what will be known as the Battle of Armageddon, because all nations are going to be fighting, to include those from the moon will be fighting. It's not a game. And it's not a request for everyone to get themselves in order. It's not a request, it's a demand. So stop trying to explain to the people at the lower level that don't even care about nothing but a car, a house, and having sex every night. This is not the people we're talking to. I'm talking to the universal world, international universal world, global reset, restoration network. I'm talking to those people. Not to a bunch of people that want to go down and get their would-be so-called debt funds or their debt changed. I don't care about that. We don't care anything about that. You'll be able to pay your debt off when you do what you're supposed to do. And that's stand down and listen to what's going on and pay attention to it. You won't have any debt if you just listen to what's going on and let all the lawsuits take place and work in that area. You will realize that everybody was sent back to what is known as net zero. That means you don't owe any debt right now. And everybody that's out there claiming they want money, pay me this and pay me that, they too went back to net zero. And they're not going to get anything. And every dollar that they take from the people, I'm going to show them just how broke they are. Because those dollars are not going to be worth anything. And when we sound the bell to do the reset, every dollar is going to have to be turned back in to whoever is turned back into so it can be burned or shredded. Like it was supposed to be done every year anyway. Right now, the U.S. of A., you can walk around and find coins on the ground. You can make more off those coins than you can off those dollars. Those dollars have a would-be coded number on them. That long number that's on those dollars is telling them how old those dollars are. And if those dollars have been in circulation or in circulation past 1 year of any would-be so-called United States system, they were to be shredded or burned. And I guarantee you right now, there's some of you that is carrying the dollar and dollars that you've been having now for 20, 30 years on you. Not only that, some of you have even already tested, because that's what it was tested for a long time ago, and people were putting marks on dollars to see how long would it take before it come back into their hands. That wasn't a test that you just so happened to do in your neighborhood because it was a fad for everybody to do. It was a test that the government had set up to mark dollars with some kind of sign, because they wanted to know if you received that dollar back within or after that year in which it was supposed to be disposed of. That's what that was all about. You people are lost, but you better wake up. Because I can tell you that the Global World Reset Restoration Network system, the people that are signed to the contract are not lost. And they know what they're looking for. We know what we're looking for. Let me not say them. They. I'm not going to say they. I'm going to use we know what we're looking for. And if some of the money that you will be caught with is money that has been going around in the pool known as money laundering. And you will also have to account for that. Anything over $10,000 will have to have what is known as a clean fund, because it will be part of the Clean Funds Act, and it must have a statement of signing off on it. So stop it. We're not playing games. This is real. Again, my apologies to you if you believe you need one, my host, but I need you to stop talking to the people. This is not Sunday school. This is not kindergarten. This is not junior high school. This is not senior high school. We are beyond universal universities. So let's deal with this on a matter where we know everyone already understands it and they are going to comply. I yield.
Thank you, sir. No apology needed. All right, family. There are those indexed, those not indexed. Those of you that are not indexed, you are already determined as an enemy combatant. You will step forward, identify yourself. This is not a request. It is a demand, and it is mandatory. You will step forward and identify yourself, or you will be destroyed. Period. You step forward by the identification of the indexing process. Once you are indexed, then you are registered under the Universal World Court as a sovereign principal. You have a very short period of time to get it completed. Go to our website, sovcpr.net. Again, that's S as in Sam, O, V as in Victor, CPR.net. Make sure you do not use Google Chrome as your browser. It will prevent you from uploading your data. Everything is secure. Go ahead and upload it. And our team is ready and processing everyone as they're coming in. With that, I will go ahead and yield back to you.
You know, as I return, can you hear me? Because I want to make sure that I'm being heard by everyone on the planet right now. Can you hear me?
Yes, very quickly.
All of the secret agencies that are on this planet is listening to me right now. They are well tapped into my phone. I would tell you that my phone has definitely been tapped into by 2000. Even though you have to understand that, yes, I have seen my files of all the secret societies and the secret agencies and all. I've seen my files. And they have been following me and tracing me and doing my work since I was 5 years old. I'm not concerned about all of that. That's their concern. Whatever they found out about me when I was in grade school, high school, whatever school, that's their business. I did 20 years in the United States military. They have all that paperwork. I'm not concerned with all of that. They know me from what they might believe my humble beginnings to whatever they deem me to be right now. I'm not concerned with all of that. This is about the people. This is about my Father's people, the sovereign people of this universe. That's what this is about for me. And again, I ask the question, why? Why do the nations rage and the people plot vain things? The kings of the earth, they set themselves, the rulers take counsel together against God of the universe, Yah Allah, and against his anointed one. There's only one. There ain't no two of us, no three of us, no four of us. There's only one. And my brother and I, we come as one. One is the letters, the other one is the number. And now that you're beginning to finally figure out which one is which, you believe that you will be able to hold one for ransom and the other one you think will bow down or kneel to you. Let me help you out. Not going to happen. Because the earth is our father's and the fullness thereof. We came to this planet bearing that true witness, and we're not going to change anything thereof. Because my Father has already declared the decree, where he has said to me, you are my son, today I have begotten you. Ask of me, and I will give you the nations with an ass for your inheritance. And he ends with an ass of the earth for your possession. You shall break down the unrighteous with a rod of iron. You shall dash down the unrighteous to pieces like a potter's vessel. And that's what's going to happen. I say now, therefore, be wise, O you kings, being subject to judges of the earth. Serve my Father, Yah Allah, with fear, and rejoice with trembling. Nevertheless, kiss the Son, unless he becomes angry and you perish in the way, when his wrath is kindled only but a little. Blessed are all of those who put their would-be so-called trust in him. Because I can assure you that every knee will bow and every tongue will confess that he is who he say he is, and there is no other. And for my dear friends that are still sporting the lie in the U.S. of A., it says to you, for the day of Yah Allah is upon all the nations with an S, and it is near. As for you, as you have done, it shall be done to you. Your reprisal shall return upon your own head. For as you drank on my holy mountain, so shall all the nations with an S drink, and they will drink continuously. Yes, they shall drink and swallow, and they shall be as though they had never been. It's all in the words of Obadiah and in the words of Psalms. And no one has to give you any type of would-be easy way out. We don't have to give you an apology. We don't have to give you an explanation. We don't have to explain anything to you. As you have done, it shall be done to you. Your reprisal shall be upon your own head. And nobody cares about you now, finally, wanting to be remorse or wanting to apologize. Nobody cares. You're too late. You have had at least 250 years of your own would-be admittance to your existence to apologize and to show that you were truly apologizing by actions. Knowing all the well that Germany still holds in its own possession a birth certificate of a map of the United States of America that even extends itself back to 500 plus years, knowing that all of the nations have now come to an investigative, true report that they have maps that dates the United States of America back to at least 1,000 years. And you're still claiming to only have been around for 250 years, as if though you want to say that you're still young and have not yet come to maturity to realize right from wrong. Not going to happen. No nation cares. But they're saying to you that if you were of a mature age of at least 21 years, you should have then been on your knees apologizing to every nation on the planet. And from that moment to this day, you have not yet bowed down in any humble manner whereby it will be accepted by any nation on the planet. Whereby all nations have already determined between the 198 nations that if there was going to be a 199 nation, it will not be classified as the United States of America. And that's a fact. And anyone still holds dear to that, there's another group of lawsuits that you might want to read at the Universal World Court and at all of the international courts, and even at the court that's classified as Supreme Court around the world. You may want to read their other lawsuit report, because it will tell you as well in those courts that the United States of America is to be deleted off the planet. Furthermore, they're to be held accountable for all the crimes they have committed against all mankind. All of that paperwork is all in every nation. No secret group of people will be able to terminate anyone on the planet whereby it will somehow alleviate the so-called problem in which they have now found themselves being a part of. It was encountered before many of you was even working for those agencies, and I would tell you to move out of those agencies if you believe that you're going to work some loyal plan with them to terminate those men and women that knows the truth about these actions in which you have taken, because I need you to understand, every nation on this planet is already aware of those things in which you allowed yourself to take a part or partial you would classify to try to eliminate. And you're going to be held accountable. And for the world in which the United States of America is under some impression that there are so many would-be Caucasian, Caucasian, Anglo-Saxon, white, would-be so-called prejudiced people, that you believe that you have a unique system whereby you're all together and there's so many of you that no one can ever stop you. Let me help you out. You're dealing with approximately at least 10 billion people. So that is approximately right now. And we're right at the number of 11 billion people on the planet. And you got to understand that that small little bit of almost 11 billion people, you're in that percentage. You're like in the 1%. And I need you to understand, the rest of the 99% is going to eliminate you one way or the other. You either identify yourself or you become deleted off this planet. That's a fact. This is not just a movement. This is to correct everything that has been done by the United States of America illegal. Mr. Trump has already been notified. Mr. Donald J. Trump, President of the United States Whitney Corporation, has already been duly informed of everything that's going on. Everything. He already understands the vision of Obadiah. Thus it was said by Yahoshua, God of the universe, concerning Edom, which is known as the U.S. of A. And all of those that are classified Edom in the U.S. of A are known as Europeans. It says, we have heard a report from Yahoshua, God of the universe, and a messenger has been sent. That messenger was HENDO Henderson. And among the nations, saying, arise and let us rise up against her for battle. That was when he took that lawsuit to all the nations, and all the nations signed off on it because they too had a complaint against what was known as Edom, or known as the Europeans in the U.S. of A. Behold, I will make you small amongst the nations. You shall be greatly despised. The pride of your heart has deceived you. You who dwell in the cleft of the rock, whose habitation is high. You who say in your heart, who will bring me down to the ground? Though you ascend as high as the eagle, America, and though you set your nest among the stars, America, from there I will bring you down, says Yahoshua, God of the universe. This was also taken to the U.S. of A. on September the 23rd, 2002. And it was read in open floor in Congress. And all of them that were there then may tell you the lie about they don't remember. But I can assure you, if you check their minutes, if you go through their with-me so-called recordings, you will find them doing so. And that's a fact. That was during the George W. Bush administration. George W. Bush had been in his administration for at least 2 years, based upon the covenant moment at that time. Warning to the American Christians was also a title in which was given to them during that time and in that day. They were spoken to about a blood oath that had been given to the whole entire world. That blood oath, they understood it to be the blood of Yahoshua, God of the universe, and which had been proven that that blood came from the vein of one known as Dr. HENDO Henderson. We have no time anymore for the neglect, the total neglect, the full neglect of what the United States of America has done through various would-be operations of their so-called would-be administration to duck, to dodge, to try to delete, diminish. None will be allowed. And we have to admit that, yes, there have been administrations that have been there at the United States place of responsibility that has worked duly with the people. Only to name a few. George W. Bush Jr. was in compliance. Donald J. Trump was in compliance. All those in between those two men have been liars and manipulators, and they will be held accountable. It is now time for us to truly go to work, because all the nations have all of the documentation, every document, every piece of documentation. Every nation has it, and they will use it. And they will not allow anyone to try to cover up. They will not let any agency try to place them in some type of would-be restraint or position of trying to control RTE rates. Not going to happen. Now it's time for us to do nothing more than go to work, because I'm looking outside my window. And it's now day, and man must work while it's still day. For when night comes and no man can work, my work must go on. For my days are becoming longer than my nights. And for those of you that find your night shortening, that's because you're not working and doing the work of Yahoshua. And you're working with Lucifer. But Lucifer's time is numbered. Lucifer knows his time is now at hand. And if you so be his children, you're going to walk right along with your father into hell, chained with nothing more than the Spirit of God. We don't have time anymore for games. This is real. United Nations, I do know that the threat is upon your nations, because many of your leaders have decided that they were going to walk with Yahoshua, God of the universe, and they were going to step away from Lucifer. And we humbly accept them as our family based upon the sovereignty of this land in which we shall all reside on. And we so in total agreement with those of the sovereign world, whereby the breath of God is the sovereignty of this whole entire universe. It is the sovereignty of this whole entire universe. And because of that, we are going to work together. It is now